Hi, good evening. My name is Jasmine. Today, I would like to make a presentation on a comparative analysis for cross-cultural negotiations using the Hofstede cultural dimension. The two countries for comparison, which are Norway and India. There are 6 dimensions in Hofstede cultural dimension. The first one is called power distance. Is actually refer to which extent that less powerful members of a society accept that power is distributed unequally. So power distance dimension for Norway is very low compared to India, which is high. The reason why I think the Norwegian society basically will appreciate individual rights. So meaning that the employer-employee relationship is not very formal, control is disliked, and communication is direct, participative, and consensus oriented. So when you do negotiations, you must understand that when they make decision, you must be a participative way of doing things, and they will stick together to make a very effective decision. Okay, so for India, they actually prefer higher ups or the hierarchy of power, meaning that the boss will dictate of how things work and what employees should do, and respect for the higher up is expected um, because they prefer loyalty from the employer and the employee. So when you do negotiations, you must see whether who makes the decision. Basically, I would say that you can look up to those who have the power to make decision rather to collaborate with those who have less decision making power. Coming the second one, which is individualist, okay, refer to how the society regard themselves as we or I. So Norway is having a high individualist element on this dimension. So what can we call it that they prefer to be themselves, which is important. Communication is explicit. At the same time, the right to privacy is respected. There are clear lines between work and life. So the employer-employee relationship is based on a contract. So feedback is direct. Okay. So India, the individualism is not really that high, meaning that they prefer to be a collective society. That means that there's a high preferences for belonging to a larger social framework. So individuals are expected to act in accordance to the greater good of one defined in group. So when it comes to negotiations, the decision from the particular country depends on how those people make decision, whether they prefer to have someone to make a decision on behalf of them, or they would like to stick together and prefer to make the decision together. Yeah. Okay. The third dimension is masculinity. It doesn't mean that it has to do with the gender and how a gender will be treated, but more on the portrayal of themselves in front of others. A high masculinity society such as India really regard success is the ultimate objective or pursue. So they actually appreciate successful people and willing to work towards that. On the other hand, Norway is actually a gentler society, which means that they appreciate all the quality of life, and doesn't mean that you have to be successful and to show to others. So they don't appreciate that. They prefer to celebrate or to appreciate other quality of life, such as appreciation towards nature and environment, and they like a society that give empathy, and consideration for others, right? So I'm not sure on negotiations, but I think when you make negotiations, you can have some points that you can win, over whatever they prefer. Yeah, whether they want to be masculine or they want to be in the feminine side. So there must be something that you can work on that. So the fourth one is uncertainty avoidance. This is very important. I think among all the dimension, this is the most critical part when you do a negotiation. Why I say that is because sometimes in negotiation you may or you may not know something that is agreeable on this or disagreeable to that particular country. Maybe in society which certainty avoidance is very high, it's good also because that particular society will try to seek confirmation about something which is unpleasant. They will go and confront rather to have certain kind of perception towards others. That is called, we call it, in our society, for example, we tend to accept imperfection. So we accept whatever things that not be so perfect for other people, because we know sometimes you don't want to confront on something, you just accept the way it is. So India is having a score of 40, while it's high for Norway. Okay, so for negotiations, you can encounter situation where sometimes those people who have a high uncertainty avoidance will voice out their dissatisfaction, and they want to have something that is good for them. While for others who have low ones, you can actually try to win by influencing them to accept whatever that you want to offer. All right. The fifth one will be long-term relationship orientation. So in the society which having low in this index, they prefer to do whatever that is not really on long-term basis for them. That means they can just go and make negotiation with others. They don't actually go just for the sake of doing things for a long term. They want to do something that give them benefit and give them the most of the benefit. They don't regard loyalty as an importance. Compared to India, if you can see, it's a long term orientation. They will do something very long. They prefer something long term, because they want to get whatever that they want for a long term benefit. So there is a difference between Norway and India. The last one will be indulgence. I'm not so sure about negotiation about this, but I think it can be regarded as how someone express him or herself, whether they can have whatever that make them to feel pleasant. They can express themselves freely, and they actually, I think, regard freedom is one of the needs for them, compared to India, which is a more restricted kind of society. They cannot express themselves clearly. So when you do negotiations, you must know that not all country have this kind of freedom of expression. Sometimes you must respect other people's culture. You cannot simply voice out anything that may actually trigger anything unpleasant for them, and they also don't want to be responsible for any consequences of the result of that negotiation. So you have to know whether you can actually negotiate on your preferences freely or not. I think that's all for now. I'm not going to explain on trumpeters, because I think this cultural dimension is already giving you a kind, like a very clear picture of a country based on the score. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Good night.